I wanted to make another video on the current situation with Doctor Who. But, so people don't come at me with pitchforks, I'll state my opinion on the casting of Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor once again. While my preference is for the Doctor to be a male character, I, like many, accept this casting decision and sincerely hope that she does well in the role. My concerns, however, like many, are not with the casting choice, but rather in the motivations and timing for this decision. Doctor Who is a science fiction fantasy program, and I am greatly concerned that it is morphing into a political propaganda piece for feminism and social justice. I should also clarify that I'm not referring to first and second wave feminism, which did have an important role to play in society. Rather, I'm referring to third wave feminism, the hate movement that drones on about things like air conditioning, manspreading, mansplaining, privilege, and the mythical unicorn known as the omnipresent patriarchy. This is not a movement that is supported by the majority of society, including many women as well as men. The course the program should be taking with the 13th Doctor is to give us something narratively interesting to explain this change, and there are a multitude of ways this could be done. The writing team has the opportunity to do something really unique here, and I think we need to make clear that we don't yet know how this is going to pan out, as we are still a year away from Whittaker's first episode. Everything we have now is based on supposition, but we can surely form some solid theories based upon the evidence before us. The problem is not with this casting choice, as I have stated, but rather it is in the way the BBC, the Doctor Who production team, some actors, and certain segments of Doctor Who fandom have responded to anyone that demonstrates even a glimmer of doubt with regard to this casting choice, let alone the motivations. Disturbingly, the attitude seems to be very much in line with the typical social justice warrior, and I find this to be somewhat disheartening. First off, let's start with the Doctor Who panel at Comic-Con last month. The panel began with moderator Chris Hardwick stating that anyone who has a problem with this decision was an asshole, and not a real fan of the show, if you don't accept this, referring of course to the casting of Jodie Whittaker, which was greeted with, quote, cheers and applause. This was followed by outgoing showrunner Stephen Moffat declaring that, quote, there was no backlash at all. Oh really, Moffat? Well, let's look at some evidence to test the validity of this claim. Firstly, Moffat's claim of an 80% approval rating seems to come from a prominent Doctor Who forum, and he neglected to mention that another poll taken the day the casting was made, which had a higher voting rate, actually showed more of a 50-50 split. Also, a poll taken on Doctor Who TV, published August 1st, with over 30,000 votes cast, also showed more of an even split. On to the next piece of evidence. Here's a few examples of the like-dislike ratio of 4 YouTube channels that have uploaded the trailer. Here's Trailers, Promos, Teasers, with a 43% disapproval rating. Here's the official BBC channel, with a 38% disapproval rating. Here's BBC America, with a 44% disapproval rating. And finally, here is the official Doctor Who channel, with a 38% disapproval rating. While none of these constitute a majority, they hardly demonstrate widespread acceptance, and some are very close to a 50-50 split. Also, if you read naysayers' comments before they are summarily deleted, that is, very few of them are attacking the gender of the 13th Doctor. Most are questioning the reasons for this move and are very concerned with how it will play out. I'd also like to point out this pinned comment on the BBC trailer. Quote, a note on how this page is moderated. Doctor Who is a family show. Apparently they don't proofread their own comments, so we need to ensure that this is a safe space. Yes, they're actually using social justice terminology here, for everyone to participate. Comments are removed if they break YouTube's community guidelines or the BBC's editorial guidelines, both of which, I should mention, are quite nebulous. We love having a passionate, dedicated, and opinionated fandom, as long as it's the right opinion, and welcome everyone irrespective of their galaxy of origin. No, you don't. The BBC's response to viewers' often well-reasoned arguments left even more room for concern that Doctor Who may become a feminist program. For example, look at the wording of their official response. quote, the powerful female life force she brings to the program. Also, let's take a look at Whittaker's first written interview following the casting. The question, what does it feel like to be the first woman doctor? Response, it feels completely overwhelming. As a feminist, as a woman, as an actor, as a human, as someone who wants to continually push themselves and challenge themselves and not be boxed in by what you're told you can and can't be. It feels incredible. Several weeks later, Whittaker cleverly managed to avoid any criticism by claiming that she missed the fan reaction because she is not on social media. I don't think we can fault her too much for taking this stance, and I don't think she deserves the hatred from some of the more extreme members of Doctor Who fandom. I don't think that Whittaker, the Doctor Who production team, nor the BBC expected the backlash to be as strong as it was. However, while you have Moffat and the BBC alienating anyone who is all but 100% supportive of this decision by claiming that the backlash doesn't exist, Whittaker took the only viable option. I'm pretty sure she is aware of the controversy, but her only option was not to indulge either side at this point. In interviews conducted since, she has focused on her excitement in getting cast and tends to sway away from overt political discussion. And I'm sure she has come to the conclusion that her initial statement may have been a misstep. She has not come across as a hateful feminist in interviews, and seems overly positive. Unfortunately, Whittaker does not control the program, and I am very concerned that, as of the recording of this video, we have heard nothing from Chris Chibnall. As I referenced in my last video, Peter Davison, who played Doctor Number 5, was publicly lambasted for his well-reasoned stance on the current course Doctor Who appears to be taking. As he stated, quote, it might be more helpful to be encouraging and not simply scornful of fans who are uncertain of change. Davison's concern, which is a view that he made public years ago, is that Doctor Who is an important male role model. And yet, he has also made clear that he thinks the time for debate on this subject is now over. Regardless, he was the subject of unrelenting abuse. Let's look at this later tweet, which effectively summarizes my own view on the subject. For the record, I didn't say I had doubts about Jodie. I said she's a terrific actress and will do a wonderful job, and we need to open it up. I also urged fans to be supportive about change. It was a caveat about role models in an otherwise positive answer. All this toxicity about a sci-fi show has been sobering, so I'm calling it a day. Used to be fun. Now it's not. Mustache. And so, Davison was pretty much forced off Twitter for making a well-reasoned argument. It has also been reported that feminist ideology will be forcing its way into the Christmas special. Specifically, this centers around the casual chauvinism displayed by the First Doctor. As a former professional historian, I can say with some conviction that when we look at the past, we need to look at the full context. William Hartnell's entire tenure is now more than half a century old. And yes, while views were different in the 60s, I think it is highly disrespectful of Hartnell to include this in the special. He died in 1975 and thus is not able to defend himself from this narrative. The role of the Doctor is unique, and an actor's entire identity becomes indelibly linked to the character. Please leave the poor man alone. Also, I think it's important to point out that Doctor Who's first producer was a female, a fact that I'm sure will be ignored by those pushing a feminist narrative. Further evidence of the progressive direction of the show is displayed in the number of groups that want their own views to be made part of the program. There are calls for the 13th Doctor to be bisexual. There are calls for her to be vegan. And everyone's favorite game critic complained that the casting of the 13th Doctor wasn't progressive enough because, as we all know, everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out. I guess we're all just garbage humans. So again, and to reiterate my main argument, I'm supportive of Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor, but I'm concerned about the progressive direction I see the show taking, which is becoming evident by the actions of those who control the future of the program. To be clear, I want Whittaker to succeed. We will see in a year's time if our fears are founded.